Probate expert.com. And this is our Wednesday afternoon home buying seminar, every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern time, where we get together and talk about all things related to buying a home. I'm here with my co-host today, Ronan David Segal. Say hi, David.
Hello, how are you, everybody?
And Patricia Castillo. Patricia Castillo, good friend of mine, colleague. Say hi, Patricia.
Yes, hello, everybody. Excited to be here today.
Thank you. And I see Doris Chamberlain is guesting with us. Doris, hi, welcome.
Hi.
And just real quick, Doris, what's your role? Are you looking to buy a house? Are you an agent, investor? Where do you figure in the scheme of things?
I'm interested. I inherited the house. I'm thinking about changing to a newer house, a different kind of house. I live in a single family house in New Jersey.
Oh, nice.
And I'm looked at some senior buildings in the area. And I'm not overly thrilled with the idea, but I'm not sure what to do.
Okay. Well, hopefully we'll help a little bit. So welcome. Glad to have you on the call. And then we're also, just for what it's worth, we're also streaming this live on YouTube and Facebook. I see a couple people on there. So if you're watching this live on our social media, you can hit the comments there or chat, like it, subscribe it. And if you are watching after the fact, if you put comments in, we'll try to circle back and get to you with any questions you might have, and you can reach out to us as well. So we started this, last week was our first introductory call, and today's the first of our sequence. And really we have we have a total of 7 different topics that we're going to talk about in the process. The idea being, the process of going from a non-homeowner to homeowner is kind of like going from a caterpillar to a butterfly. It's a transformation. It's not just as simple as walking into the local market and buying milk. In some ways it could be, but for most people, the first thing that prevents them is their mindset. If you think of yourself as a tenant or an occupant of a property, then to get the idea that you're going to put money out, investment money, capital, and take responsibility for a property is perhaps a big leap of faith. It is for most people, I find. In my experience as a real estate agent for 36 years, and for most people, it's too big of a challenge. And so our goal today, number one, we'll talk about is buying really for you. And Doris mentioned that she has a property. She might be looking for something else because she inherited it. And I don't know about her, but many people inherit property but never bought it. And going through the process can be challenging, can be difficult, even under the easiest of circumstances. And if you're older, perhaps there's more issues. So there is the logistical part, but there's also just the mindset part. And so the first thing you have to think about is buying another property for you? And if so, why? We know from the book Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill, that to accomplish something in life, you have to think about why you want it and make it like a fire. And the more it burns, the higher it burns. That's what drives our motivation to get something done. So when somebody's in a property that they don't like, whether they're a tenant or it's too small, they have kids, or maybe it's upstairs and they're older, or whatever the reasons are, they don't like the neighborhood. We all can go through life and settle for something and just go through life frustrated and settling. Or we can get clear on what we want. And so it first starts with getting clear, what do you want in your life? And how does the house affect that? Is it about wealth? You want to buy a house that's going to go up in value? Is it about income? Do you want to buy a property where you're going to either lower your payments or get income from other people living in the property? Whether it be a house or duplex or triplex, you can get income and live for free or live for a reduced amount. What is it that's important to you? And so think about it. I'm going to urge you to think about it, or put it in the chat box, or raise your hand and ask a question, or unmute. Ask yourself, why is buying a house important to you? And so think back, if you would, about those, if you've bought a house before, what the reason is. So I'll share with me, and I'll ask you guys to participate. And just again, reminder that the more you participate in anything, the more you get out of it. So I bought my first house in 1987. I was married in 86. We entered escrow in September 1986. I remember, no, that's not right, 87. We entered in September 87, and we didn't close escrow until beginning of 88. I was married in 86. November. In 87, we entered escrow to buy a house in the beginning of August. And in September, the stock market dropped. It was Black Tuesday in 1987. And we had the money for our down payment and closing costs in the bank. And when the stock market went down, we bought stock and it went up right away about 20-25%. We made some good money on that stock during that downturn. But we were committed to buying a house. We were already in escrow at that point. And so for me, it just seemed like we were going to buy a house to live in, my wife and I, and raise our family. The first house was a little smaller. We knew it was a gateway. And then we ended up a year later selling that house. We bought it for $142,000. We sold for $240,000 the next year, took that money and bought the next house with it. We bought a beautiful 4-bedroom home with a view and 2.5 acres and a cul-de-sac and lived there for about 10 years. So the first house we bought, we bought it because I knew we wanted to buy a house to start a family. I knew that wasn't going to be the house. What's your reason why? So either of you guys have bought a house before, or Doris, have you bought it? Like to share maybe what the reason is that was behind you first buying your first house?
I'll share on that.
Okay.
Or Doris, were you going to say something?
No, I didn't think he wanted me to say anything, but go ahead.
My first purchase was in West Hills in the Valley. So that's in Los Angeles County, near Woodland Hills. And moving out there for me was kind of a mixed emotions. I was feeling excited that I was going to own my first home, but I was also feeling very distant and alienated from my family because they were here in Los Angeles near Dodger Stadium. So I felt very far away from them, even though the distance wasn't really that far. I mean, it was maybe 30 minutes away. But that was my first move. After that, I was there a couple of years, and then I had just different life circumstances and changes. I ended up moving a total of 6 times. And so here I am now in Downey. I've lived here for almost 7 years. And for me, it was just being in a place I can call home and planting my roots there without having to worry about moving again. It just takes up so much time and energy. And, and moving's kind of stressful when you have to find a place to go and you have to save up that money and be prepared to make that move and pack up all your things and get settled again. So I'm happy to say that I am finally settled here in my home in Downey.
Downey, the Beverly Hills of the 562.
That's right.
Good. Well, thanks for sharing that with us. I think, again, when it's important to you, you'll get something done, right?
Absolutely.
It was a lot of work packing up and moving. It was stressful to shop for a house, write the contract, buy the house, right?
Absolutely. Took
Good.
a lot of time.
Mhm.
And I had a 6-month period to where I had to basically get into escrow and close the loan because my student loans were coming out of the deferral status that they were in. So my lender had said, once those loans are active again, your purchasing power is going to decrease. So if you can get into a home now, it'll be better for you. You can basically, afford more. So it was a time where we went out every single weekend and sometimes during the week to find a house, go to different open houses. Of course, this was all pre-COVID, where you could just go and walk into a property during the week or on the weekend. And we were able to get our offer accepted and buy this house.
So again, that really just gets my point. That starts with your mindset, starts with your desire and it being important to you. Anybody else want to share kind of their story of buying their first house, what that was like, buying a house? I don't get too personal, put me on the spot, but again, this is meant to be participative. If you have a story you want to tell or can share it, in the purpose of sharing, sometimes it's sharing for the other person. It's not necessarily for you, but it's sharing for somebody else who might be inspired by your story.
And this was my 3rd house, Bill.
Okay, but it's the same process, right?
Yeah, it's the same process. And it was just as, the process was just as, had just as much intricacy as it did the first time around.
So I'll know what I'm supposed to share, but I will share that for me personally, My goal is to buy investment property this year. I'm 62. I'll be 63 in January, and looking to have my money work for me, so I can not have to work as hard in the future at some point. And so I wrote a goal at the beginning of the year to buy some multifamily income property. And I can tell you that I made two investments in the last few weeks that achieved my goal. And I want to raise my goal and do more next year, buy property, in my case, for investment income for retirement. So that's definitely an option for anybody who's in the market for properties. What's this going to do for you down the road when you aren't able, if you pay for a mortgage, that's great, but at some point you might not be able to, and you want to be able to do that. So it's really important to get your goal, get it in writing, what you want to do, and to think about it regularly, to think about it intensely if it's important to you. I'll share with you, I don't know that I mentioned this to you, but even Patricia, we're pretty close. My wife was in surgery last week for cancer. She had a procedure a month ago, and they did this thing, and they go, hey, there's this thing here, and it's cancerous in her abdomen. And on Wednesday last week, she went to Cedars-Sinai and had surgery, and unfortunately some nerve damage, but it looks like they got everything from the looks of things, thank God. She came home yesterday, but she can't walk upstairs now. I'm heavy, and I struggle a little bit to get upstairs carrying things. I keep thinking to myself, how much longer can we live in a 2-story house with the bedrooms upstairs? But when my wife came home from surgery, she can't go up the stairs. We had to take a room we made into a nursery and make it into a bedroom for her. So for some people, we can choose and plan ahead, and other people, sometimes your reality is set upon you right away and what you have to do and why you have to do it. So something to think about. So I'm going to urge everybody here to have in mind, and whether the market's good or bad, the question is, what's your goal? And then the purpose then becomes to achieve your goal and not get distracted. So many people will read about the market and watch on the news. The housing market's going to crash. The housing market's too competitive. The housing market, it's funny how half the news is the market's too competitive, the market's going to crash. It can't be both at the same time. And the reason is the news wants to sell eyeballs. The news is not education. What I can tell you is I've been in business since 1986. Everybody who bought a house in 1986 made a lot of money on it. Everybody who bought a house in 1996 or 2006 has made a lot of money on it. Even people who bought at the high of the market, 2008 or 9, have made good money on it, as well as enjoyed tax benefits. So it's not about the market, it's really about you and what your goals are. And you got to get clear on them. And I would say this is a great time of year. Here we are, the last Wednesday of 2021. Get clear on what you want for 2022. Why? What do you want to do? What do you want to accomplish? We're going to talk the next few weeks about how to evaluate the market, how to take advantage of it, the process of buying a home, getting your financing set up. But the first step is we have to get our mindset clear. So again, the homework for this week is write down what your goal is. Do you want to buy a house? Where? What kind of house? Where do you want it to be? Do it be a home, a condo, adult living situation, multifamily property? What do you want to buy and why by the end of the year? And then once you have that clear in your mind, if I can help in any way, reach out to me, or Patricia is a real estate agent, she can help. David is involved with credit cleanup, and he can help you make sure you're prepared if there's any issues with credit, help you get the best price for the loan or get you qualified for the best loan terms. So Patricia, what would you like to add on the subject? Here we are, hopefully people watching this or thinking about their goal for the year. What would you like to add to them to encourage them to get started in this process?
What I would like to add, Bill, is that I think what you mentioned about your, knowing your why is super important. Also, thinking about what type of, like you said, what type of property you want to buy. Sometimes we go into, this thinking we want to buy a certain size, we want 5 bedrooms or 3 bedrooms, but you could do very well in probably scaling down and not buying too much house. The other thing is just also thinking about what comes after home ownership. So you purchase a property, you have your monthly mortgage payment, you're going to have your homeowner's insurance and your property taxes as well. And just thinking about budgeting for certain things that may come up. You may have a plumbing problem, you may need to have a roof repaired. So having some type of, small fund to start saving is also a good idea. So just like with your car, if something breaks down with your car, you need to fix it. So I think just thinking about the general maintenance of a home also is very important to basically keep your home in the best condition possible, since you're going to be living there. So you want to make sure everything is in good condition. And just kind of thinking about what that would look like after you're, in your home.
Very nice. David, what would you like to add? People who need to get into this process, I'm sure there are people who think, gee, it's a lot of work. What if I'm not going to qualify for a loan? My credit, I don't know what my credit looks like. I haven't put in a long time. What do you think? What would you like to say to them to help encourage them to get started?
So I really encourage you guys to get in touch with us. And the process is actually pretty simple. You call us up and we actually go over your credit and we see what you need help with, and we sign you up and we start the process. It's not scary. The scary thing is not to know, and the scary thing is to drown in your, in your bills and in your debt. And one of our services is actually a debt payoff, which is a great tool. We have a lot of great tools for people who are trying to store their credit, start their credit, build their credit, and we're here to help. I'm finding out that a lot of Americans, unfortunately, are, I would say, a little weak at understanding concepts such as loans and interest rates. And, I was just talking to a car guy in Santa Monica, and, he kind of wants to work with us, but they don't really mind selling a car at 15, 16, 25%. They'll find you a loan. So we're like, no, don't go for that loan. Work with us, let us get you straight, then you'll get a loan for 2% or 3%, and you won't be paying it forever.
Right. Well, and it's just a great point. Like anything else in life, a little preparation can save you a lot of money and a lot of heartache. And so we got to get the work done ahead of time. Well, great. Doris, did you have anything that you'd like to add in, or any questions you have before we wrap up?
Excuse me. How do you contact David?
David, let's get your contact
That's
info.
a great question. So our phone number, so it's me and my partner, Charlotte. So her phone number is 212-518-3929, 212-518-3929. And I encourage everybody to give us a call. It's the end of the year. It's the beginning of the year. Give yourself the gift of good credit and getting your finances straight. That's what we're about.
Can you put the name of the company in the chat?
Yeah, we are. Okay, sure. I'll do it. I'll put the name of the company in the chat. We are Credit Repair 90210.
And Doris, because you registered, and Ronan is one of our partners in this, he has your contact info when you registered. So I'll encourage him to reach out to you as well offline. We have your email and your phone number. Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. Okay. Any other questions, comments? I know, also, Doris, before we wrap up, I know you asked a question. Is an apartment type home better than a freestanding home for a senior citizen? So it sounds like you're asking for your much older sister. It doesn't sound like you're asking for yourself.
I have a high voice.
But that's a great question. And now when you say apartments in New York, they refer to what we call condominiums in California as apartments. Normally what you're saying is an attached property and maybe one that's attached with a group of other properties. Is that better for seniors? And I would say that it depends on who you are, but it depends what you need. So, for example, my mother-in-law, bless her memory, used to live in an area called Leisure World in California, and they had what you call apartments or condos, as well as houses, attached, semi-attached. And but what was nice was that whole project was really designed for seniors' health and security and quality of life. They had security, they had check-ins, they had amenities appropriate for seniors in that area. And so they're just about the price. Do you want your own detached home or an attached property? And that's about personal preference. Obviously, the closer you are to the people, the advantage is you have more neighbors and so shorter walk. The disadvantage is you have a little less privacy and less room for other family or friends to come visit you. So, but I would encourage you to take a look at both types to find the right style property. But I think more important than just the style of property is the particular project. I find that some of those, having shopped for those kind of properties for my parents and my in-laws, that they vary a lot. Different management has different qualities. Some are very customer focused, and the amenities, some are great. Like I said, Leisure World had so much going on. They had plays and they had music and they had huge swimming pool and all kind, and they had golf and tennis. And others are more modest, but they're clean and organized and appropriate. So I would urge you to find an agent in your area, and Patricia maybe can help you find somebody in New Jersey to refer you to a couple of places that they know are appropriate for what you're looking for. Find a little more about what your preferences are. Do you want more social activities? Do you need more medical attention? And then once you are clear what you're looking for, there's multiple choices in New Jersey, multiple choices in the greater New York area that you can look at, and we can try to help you find the right spot for you, right? How's that sound?
Sounds good. There is a place that's near me, and to me, it's weird. I think you buy the quote unquote apartment in a building. And it says when you're ready to leave, they give you 90% of whatever money you did to move in there. Or if you die, that money goes to whoever your heir is. Is that a normal kind of thing?
No, but there's different programs like that appeal to different people. So it depends on who you are and your particular finances. But that's a way. So you might be familiar with the term a reverse mortgage.
I know what that is, yes.
So this is a way to kind of finance a reverse mortgage over a project where they're participating in some of the equity by, giving some back or keeping some. So I've seen different schemes and different formats. It just depends on the particular property and then what kind of amenities they're offering, because those amenities cost money too.
Oh yeah, they cost you like $3,000 a month, that's a lot of money to me.
Well, it
kind of fee.
Depends what you're getting, and
you get they have like 3 or 4 restaurants on the property, and I think you have to go to at least one of them once a week. But you have your own kitchen. It looks great. It has your own washer and dryer. You have your own refrigerator. I call it the senior refrigerator because the freezer's on the bottom. They have electric stove because you don't want the place to go on, catch on fire. But they start at, to me, it's like buying a house, but they're calling it an apartment. And like I said, if you leave there, they give you 90% of what you put in, or if you die, that goes to you, whoever your heir is. And it just sounds weird to me.
Right.
Well, they look great.
Right. And I'm sure it's just a way for them to pay for amenities somehow that otherwise aren't included in a normal property.
Oh.
So I don't know enough about that particular one. I'd be glad to look at it, or if you get an agent having for information, I'd be glad to try to. I've seen a lot of different formats. This is an area of our real estate business that's growing very quickly because people are living longer, and we have more people coming of age who have property and owned a house or inherited a house and want to continue living in their own property. So this is an area that's really exploding, both in the numbers of properties and the different types and programs. Some people need a lot of medical care. That's a whole nother separate area of properties that are designed for people with various physical ailments, limitations, mental ailments, limitations. So, but they're all a little different, and there's a place in the market for all of them. It just might not be the right place for you.
Thank you.
Very good. So Doris, also, I see that Patricia put her contact info, and if you want, sounds like
I copied hers down.
Good. So if she can help, we're with a national company that has offices throughout New Jersey, New York metro area, as well as Florida, if you want to move.
No, thank you. No.
That's okay. I'm looking to move to Florida. I used to live in Florida, so I'm looking to move back there. But we can help you. The companies, we have colleagues around the country, so we'd be glad to make an introduction if appropriate. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks so much. Any other questions or comments? Carolina Castillo, welcome to our call. Are you related to Patricia?
Hi, yes, actually I am. I have
So
the privilege of being related to her.
So it's Carolina Castillo.
Yes, Carolina
Okay.
Castillo. Mhm.
I butcher Patricia on a regular basis. I do my best. I'm a gringo trying to learn an accent. It's tough.
Doing a great job. Sorry I
you.
was late. I could not for the life of me find the link. So I'm sorry I joined a little late, but and maybe you already covered this, but I know I had been kind of talking a little bit to Patricia about the possibility of like an investment property and just kind of what are the things. And again, I apologize if you already covered this, but just something, to how to get it set up and then how to determine like, because then I started asking myself, do I need an investment property? Like, is that something that I need to have? So just maybe some things that, one should be asking oneself in terms of, taking a step in that direction.
Sure.
Everybody needs an investment property.
Well, real estate is by far the most common pathway for people to financial independence. I mean,
Absolutely.
there's nothing even close.
Nothing even close.
Now, it depends on who you are. If you already have other money through other investments or other, retirement programs and such. I don't know. I see you have an EDD. My aunt was a retired teacher and very generous retirement program through LA Unified, and lived a very comfortable lifestyle with that. Didn't buy any rental property. Bought her own residence, paid it off, but didn't have any rental property. But for most people, rental property or investment property is a way to do a couple things. It creates positive cash flow. It can create long-term wealth. And it also has a way of also limiting the tax liability in the short run and the long run. So it depends on your particular finances and what your goals are. And it's the same question that Doris asked about which senior project. It doesn't really matter what the right one is for everybody else. The question really is, Carolina, which is the right one for you? And so I think what you need to do is meet with somebody who can help you as an investment advisor and say, what are your goals? You don't need one. You can take all your money. You can go to Vegas, spend it all on red black game. And if you win, live a lavish life. And if you lose, try to live on welfare the rest of your life. You could do that. I wouldn't recommend it.
Nope.
But people do. But it gets down to what your goals are and reasons. Personally, I've invested in rental property because to augment my retirement. I'm 62, 63 next month. And I have a family. I want to live a nice life. And the only way to do that is to, fortunately, I make good income now, but at some point it's going to start to decline and I need to have a way to replace that. And I have some investments and other things, but buying some other properties and give me money for a long time. It's a great return. The stock market's very challenging, very tricky. Somebody said, well, why don't you invest in cryptocurrency? To me, that feels like a Ponzi scheme. I've looked at it very carefully. So it depends on your goals. I'd be glad to answer some questions in this call or any other call. I do have another call I do on Tuesdays on real estate investing, realestateinvestingzoom.com, where we both bring in different real estate opportunities for people to find what's appropriate for you, as well as answer questions. And we have on that call many people who are successful investors who've built great lives and live a life of financial freedom as a result of their income. So glad to help any way I can.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Bill.
Sure. Thank you.
Good to meet you.
Any other questions or comments before we wrap up here for the year? I see we had Michael Moss, one of the world's great mortgage originators on the call, checked in, and his comment was so true. I'm going to say that applies to everything that we did. So thank you, Michael. Nice seeing you. So I think we'll wrap up here. Again, just to review your homework tonight, and this would apply whether it's Doris thinking about a house to live in or Carolina thinking about a real estate investment. We said 9% of all this is mental. Think about what life you want to live. And the more you think about it, the stronger you think about it, the more real you make it, the more likely you are to achieve it. The 9% of this starts with a mindset. Now, we're going to cover other technical topics along the way, but it's really important for you to be clear on what you want. And I think sometimes we think that we think about things. People say, well, I thought about it, but we really don't. We're so busy. We don't take the time to really think things through. Thinking something through in my mind means putting your calendar an hour, turning off the phone, turning off the TV, and really saying, what kind of life do I want to live? Where do I want to live? How do I want to live? And then the question becomes, what do I have to do to achieve that? So I know I've shared with Patricia a few times, my goal is I have a 5-year plan. This is the end of year 3. I have 2 more years to go. And my vision is to live a life where I go on a luxury cruise with my family, my wife, and we have 1 child who's married and grandkids. We have 1 now, but we didn't have any when I had that dream. And I imagined 3 at the time. So I've got 2, my daughter has 2 more years to pump 2 more out. My vision was to be on a luxury cruise. And I can imagine sitting on the chaise lounge next to my wife with the grandkids running around and a drink in my hand. And that vision drives me to work hard and do a good job every day, treat people right, to build a business so I can make enough money to achieve that lifestyle, and not to borrow for it, not to bankrupt myself, but to have the money come out of my normal income one time. So that's my vision. And do that, I have an income goal and I have business goals as a result of that, and investment goals, so I can make all that happen. So what's your goal? What's your vision? And how can we make that happen? So just something to think about. And I want to urge you all to spend the homework again for this week is to get clear on what your goal is, what you want your life to be like. If it's buying a house, why, where, what kind, how much. If it's an investment property, focus on what the goal is. Is the goal long-term wealth? Is the goal income? Is the goal tax reduction? Get clear on that. And the next week, we'll take the next step. We're going to talk about how to look at the market to see where you should buy, what you should buy, how to feel comfortable and confident with what you decide to buy. Okay. So in the meantime, Patricia's content's in the chat and Ronan's as well. Ronan does credit repair. Patricia is real estate agent. We're colleagues, partners in a business that's national. So if you have any questions around the country, either we can help you or we have friends who can, and we're glad to help. So any last words, Ronan or Patricia?
Happy New Year, happy financial year, happy, keep your financials in order. If you need any help, we're here to help. We'll be very to help with any questions.
Yeah, I'd like to wish everyone a happy new year as well. Bill, and I hope that your wife is recovering peacefully and pain-free. And I will keep you guys in my prayers. And I was also going to just mention, if anybody is listening on the call right now is thinking about possibly getting a loan application in for the next year, you're looking to maybe make a purchase. As Bill said, we're here to help you. But also, you don't want to make any large purchases. You don't want to go buy something that's really going to increase your debt and that's going to limit your purchasing power for the year to come. So a lot of people start taking advantage of all these sales going on after Christmas with cars and TVs and things like that. But, some of those purchases could really bring up your debt to ratio.
Yeah. And think about your goal. If your goal is to buy a house, like we bought nothing before we bought our first house because we were so clear on wanting to have our goal of owning a house that we didn't buy anything else because our goal was important to us. If your goal is clear, then it kind of falls into place. So thank you for pointing that out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I think that's it for now. We do this again every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern time, and appreciate you guys being on the call. Doris, thank you for sharing today, and Carolina, thank you so much for being on and sharing with us today. And we'll do it again next week, and call in the meantime if we can help. Have a healthy new year, happy new year, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.